Welcome to the Responsible Parent Podcast, where families who are overwhelmed and curious about naturally regulating their nervous system can find answers. I'm your host, Caylie O'Patik, and in each episode, I'll cover a topic you've been wanting to understand more about and serve as a reminder for you that everything is cyclical and connected. New episodes are released at noon Eastern Standard Time every Thursday, alternating between guest and solo episodes, all under a half an hour to give you the best value for your time. Today, we have an energetic entrepreneurial mastermind who works with the concept of energetics to influence authentic business coaching, yearly mapping, astrology readings, personal breakthroughs, and more. Welcome to the podcast, fellow Michigan mama, Kelli Mason.
Hi, thank you so much, Caylie. I love that intro. I'm like, can you send me that? That's
Yeah,
good.
totally.
That's what I do. I'm introducing myself.
Well, I went onto your website and there wasn't like a strict about me page. So I was like, all right, we're going to do this.
Probably because about me is like always changing.
Exactly.
Like, we'll just have to stick around and find out.
It fits. It fits your branding, right? I love that. So I would like to start something with you if you're okay with this. I haven't done this with a guest yet, but before each episode, I have 4 candles here. My master number's 4, my life's path number, and I lit 2 of them with an intention. And I would love, if you're open to it, for you to give me 2 other intentions you'd like for our time together, and then to be able to light those candles.
Love that.
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I kind of like being on, I think I thrive under a little bit of pressure.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So I'm just imagining all of the parents listening to this episode, and one of my intentions or the prayers I have for you to receive on the other end of this is just a feeling of effortlessness, that it doesn't have to be so hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so hard to feel really good and feel really grounded and feel like you're doing a great job.
Sure.
So that's one. And then the second one is that you learn something new that you can implement right away.
I love that. Thank you so much. All right. The intentions are set. Beautiful. Lovely, lovely. So thank you for that. So just, I guess, hopping into it a little bit, I'd love you to take a moment to explain to our listeners what energetics are, and maybe even tell us a bit about your journey to using it as a main tool in your life.
Okay. So for me, the words are so full of possibility, right? Like you could say one word and somebody thinks this thing, and say another word and somebody thinks this thing. But with energetics, when you hear the word energetics, the first thing that comes to me is like the unseen.
Right.
And the thing behind the thing, the feeling, the resonance, the connection. So when I think of energetics as like an overarching theme, it's the things behind what we can see. It's the feeling, the emotion, the sensation behind whatever is perceived as real. And we all have an experience with energetics. We all have an association with it. I mean, a simple thing could be, I'm a mom of 2 children. My kids are 11. Oh my gosh, 11. She just turned 11 and 9. And we all know that feeling of walking into a room with our child and they look at you and you look at them, and there's just an energy happening. And it's almost like they can feel your thoughts, feel your tone, your resonance with them. And so that's like such a great example of what energetics really is it's the thing behind the thing. And there's so much play we can do with it too, especially as a parent. I've, on my spiritual journey and on my life journey, just learning to be a more relaxed person. classically a little neurotic. It's just part of my design. I'm a little bit like on edge sometimes and
Yeah.
intense, which I love about myself, but also it can be a blessing and a curse. Like helps me get a lot of things done.
Right.
It helps me be very motivated, but it also can make me like,
Doesn't help you rest, right?
it doesn't help me rest. So I've had to learn how to navigate that. And on this path, I just have really, really put at the high priorities list is for me to show my children what it can be like to be regulated, right? Not to push away feeling sad or feeling angry or feeling frustrated. Like those are valid and really important emotions and energies to feel so that we can handle the complexities of the world.
Mm.
And there's so many fun ways that I've learned how to play with it with energy. Like if I'm angry about something that's happening, right? Anger can be very provocative. It can be kind of intense. It can turn violent if it's not regulated.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also something that they're going to experience
Yeah.
and that they need to see. So like with an intense energy like that, I'll like allow myself to feel it and then playfully work with it so that it's like they can feel the energy of it, but they're not feeling the low road, I would say, of it,
Okay.
right? Violence or aggression or
Yeah.
reactivity. So that's one like fun thing. I'm trying to think of how I could like
Yeah.
if you're listening to this,
Yeah.
say it.
Well,
Or
I
like
think,
if you're seeing it.
yeah, I think that's really interesting. It's something I feel like it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. My years have been really very fluid lately. But I feel like Olive and I, my daughter, she's 10, so she's around the age of your kids as well. Her and I had a discussion around anger and exactly that. And she actually, and I'm sure it was me telling this to her at some point in her life and then her regurgitating it to me because that happens at times, but I don't remember the lesson exactly. And she said, we were talking about anger because we were both having a frustrating day. And we were talking about how we can use that energy of anger to like it's a motivator, right? It gets you up. Its purpose is something's out of alignment. What is it? And then let's like do something about it, right? And so I'm interested, like when you say you play with it in a fun way so that your kids kind of recognize what it is it like you dance it out or is it
Yes.
like
Okay.
you
So
okay?
I was just thinking that. I'm like, can I stand up and can they still hear me?
Yeah.
So when that emotion, I'm also a yoga teacher. I've done hundreds and hundreds of hours of yoga teacher training in hatha yoga, tantric, lots of different methodologies. I've also been an energy worker in shamanic cranial sacral therapy, and I'm a master Reiki teacher. So I've done a lot in a lot of different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And what always I come back to is the elements. So the four elements is what, if this is the one thing you take away today, this is really helpful. So
Mm-hmm.
anger and emotions like that are associated with different elements. So anger would be associated with fire, right? Even if I say the word fire, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what does fire need to do, right? It needs to be like stoked and maintained. Like we don't want to snuff it out, but we need it to be contained. And it also needs to move.
Mm-hmm.
It's an intense energy. So dancing, right?
Yep.
So if I feel anger and I'm like, oh, and you want to be like, a really, I'm not saying this is a wrong thing to do, but like punching a wall or something like that. It's like, okay, well, now there's a repercussion. I got to deal with that.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
or punching a pillow, that's always a good thing, or screaming into a pillow. But if in the moment when you're with your kids or something, I like to turn it into like something playful because the energy of fire is also play.
Yeah.
It's also passion. So you can balance the energy out with its like complementary high road.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still allowing yourself to feel the emotion, but you're not allowing it to consume you. So
Sure.
yeah, like something like that would look like, oh, I'm so angry. And then I'm like, I'm angry. And I'm just like, pushing energy out away from my body.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've even taught my daughter to like throw energy up to the sun.
Mm.
So that's a great like energetic play because the sun, what is it? Fire.
Yeah.
Anger needs to be transmuted. Fire transmutes. So I'll be like, throw all your anger up to the sun. So we'll be like, "Ah, take it, sun." Because one of the spiritual lessons that I've learned from some of my teachers is like the sun is a giver. It doesn't ask for anything back.
Yep.
So it's such a like relieving way to be like, here, sun,
Yeah.
take this, and do what you will with it. And one of the things that I used to do when I was doing energy healing a lot was if I was helping people move energy during our work, send it up to the sun. And you just ask the sun, can you turn this into something good and beneficial for all? Because guess what the sun does? It shines back down on all the people. So energy can't be created or destroyed. So you're really just saying, take my anger, turn it into something beautiful for myself and everyone else. So that's a fun little thing that me and my kids do, but in the real time, like dance. Yeah. Dance or like stomping or shaking is really great to help you move a lot of dense energy. It also helps you to ground. So yeah, those are some fun things to shoot. That's just one specific emotion, but you can really do it with anything. But yeah, anger tends to be a big one.
Yeah.
And my son is a little fiery too. So I'll be shake it out, send it up to the sun. And there's a lot of like things that are actually happening physiologically in your body when you're doing stuff like that, right? You're activating different meridian lines in your body. You're actually helping your lymph nodes clear by not hanging on to something on an energetic level. At a cellular level, you're actually benefiting like your whole body by doing things that.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And I feel like I talk a lot about how I believe that science is, it's not the truth necessarily, but science is humans' explanation of what we already are witnessing, right? And so like something's happening, we know it's happening, or we can kind of tell that it's happening in some way, shape, or form. And so we try to put a name to it so we can talk about it basically, and so that we can figure out other things about it. And to me, that's what science is. And so when you talk about how you doing one thing, let's say you're shaking or you're dancing, but it's impacting your energy levels, which I'm sure you can measure, right? And you know, you're impacting your lymph system and so many other things. Like it, to me, it's just the reassurance of when you do this, it works and it benefits you in all of these ways, in many more ways than you can possibly know, you know? So like, don't question the science, just know it's doing something on so many different levels, right? Because we're physical bodies, we're energetic bodies, and we're spiritual bodies, right? So like we're electrical, we're energetic, and we're physical. There's like so many so many parts to us that are always moving and always have an impact in some way, shape, or form, right? So I love that. I think that's incredible. Thank you. I would love to know if you could maybe go into detail a little bit about even the work that you've experienced or done with Healy, what that is, and how you've noticed that energetics can impact a family's nervous system.
The Healy, like this little tool that I use
Mm-hmm.
that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this, if you're watching this live, this is a little frequency device. It uses microcurrent. It's called the Healy. If you're not visually seeing this, it's just like a little tiny 3-inch plastic box that has a quantum sensor inside of it that can actually pick up and read your personal frequency blueprint. So it's really measuring in a scientific way vibration and frequency. And it's such a cool way to bring your body back into its perfect coherence when we might not have the time to go into like really deep practices of processing. I have worked with tons and tons of people to help them move really dense energy and get them back to a place of nervous system regulation through hands-on healing and things like that. And it does take like some time, and it does take some, effort and getting yourself there and putting yourself in a room and all that, which is amazing. And I still do highly recommend. But on a day-to-day basis, to have a tool that we can actually strap onto your wrists. So it uses leads that go into a little wristband you can put around your wrist. And it uses really, really, really small microcurrent electrical current to bring frequencies into your body via the meridian meridian line system, which I kind of talked about. Like I'll give you like the easiest way to understand your meridians is if you take your hands and you flex at the wrist. So your fingertips are pointing up, and then you push your hands out away from your heart. So it feels like you're standing in between a door frame and you're trying to push yourself inside the door frame. And then you point your fingers back towards your ears and you feel that line turn on from your armpit up the palm of your hand. And it kind of makes you sweat a little bit. You're like, oh my gosh. And then if you drop your shoulders away from your ears, it turns on a little bit more. And that is a nerve line, but it's also a meridian line. And there's a couple of different ones that go from that space around your heart, your lungs, the fluid, the sac around your heart. Like those are meridian lines, and they carry information throughout our whole body. Like Caylie was saying, it's like your spiritual body is connected to your physical body. Well, your heart is connected to your lungs, and your nervous system is connected to your digestive system, and all of the systems are connected. And what Healy does is it helps to harmonize all of those systems through frequency, because each of those different systems, each of your different organs, your skin, your blood, your bones, your eyeballs, everything has a specific frequency that it is completely coherent at and operating at its perfect level for yourself. And when we hang on to really heavy emotions, or we don't process emotions, or we get sick, or our immune system gets low, things like that, our cells become incoherent, and then they're not operating optimally. And then we can feel mentally not okay. We can feel like really imbalanced. We can feel sick, things like that. And so what Healy does, it scans you and it says, and it picks up that information. Ooh, there's incoherence here. And it can recommend a program for you to plug in and run and bring you back into coherence without you having to try so hard. So it's kind of like nervous system regulation on autopilot.
Sure.
And, and I've had some really crazy experiences working with it for the last almost 2 years now. My life has actually really changed since I started working with it, because you don't have to be so conscious to get the healing. I practice meditation and yoga and all of these other different things. And you do have to be conscious for it to work, right? It's a practice to sit there and clear your mind, calm your mind, relax your body, put your body into different shapes and positions. And when you're working with a tool like this, which is such a beautiful time of life that we have technology that's helpful and not harmful, you could be doing the dishes or cleaning the floor, or folding laundry, and receiving deep cellular harmonization. So a little bit of the science of it is that the microcurrent actually is by itself, without the frequency, impacting the cells on such a deep level that it is helping the protein like synthesize. So it's supercharging your cells. So you're getting this like energetic charge to the deepest aspect of a cell, because at the deepest aspect of a cell is protons and neutrons. It's an electrical charge. So it's going in there and saying, all right, cell, wake up cells, let's get back into order. And since I've been doing that, and I use it for my kids, it's not technically FDA cleared for children, but
most things aren't that are good for them.
I will
But
say
red dye 40 is.
right, red dye 40. But I will say that it is one of the tools that, like, if my kids have a stomach ache, or if they are getting their immune system low or something, they'll ask for it. They're like, can you run the Healy for me, Mom? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So I just put it on them, and then even my kids are like, have had immediate results and are able to communicate that to me. But it's working on an energetic level to help not only the nervous system, but everything that's connected to the nervous system.
That's beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. And to touch on that too, I feel like, so we weren't really taught in school, and we were taught anatomy, that our heart is also like a magnet, right? And it's electrical, and it pulses electricity through our body. And just again, tying it all together, I feel like there has to be something said that if something's impacting you on a physical level or energetic, they're interchangeable, right? Like no matter what, if you're impacting one, you're impacting the other. And maybe there's just not as much research behind or socialized around, one aspect or the other. And usually it's energy, because that's been highly masked from our society, right? For some reason. But I find it really interesting the type of healing that can be done physically when you are working with energy or with frequencies. Last Thursday, I released my second episode, which was a solo episode about the frequencies of fabric. And so I've been in the fashion design industry for, over 12 years. And I've been noticing, just doing research on the draining effects of like polyester and anything that's made with synthetic and crude oils. And all of a sudden, this just kind of like came to me. I was like, wait a minute, it's the energy, it's the frequency of it. And sure enough, there's been research done by independent parties using their own different frequency measurement devices that have said that like polyester essentially vibrates at a level of a nearly dead person. And when you put it on, when you're wearing it, it's actually bringing down your frequency, as opposed to like linen, which vibrates much higher than normal humans. And so when we put it on, it actually gives us energy, which is so interesting. Because you think about wearing linen, you like wear it, on a beach by the ocean, which also gives you energy, like it's like a whole thing. And you have this whole feeling associated with it. And so, yeah, I think that frequency is so interesting. And I think it's definitely not something that mainstream, especially conscious parents, even I should say, are necessarily aware of. But I think that that's changing. And I love that you're able to share your own testimony and just the information about how you've used frequency devices, but then also energetics, right? So seasonal energetics, right? Everything is cyclical, everything's connected, right? There's certain energies of certain seasons that you can best utilize to do whatever you want. There's, energies during certain seasons that are better to rest, and certain seasons that are better to, to start things new. As you talk about, the new year shouldn't be celebrated in January, but instead in the springtime, right? Because that's when you're, moving things forward. And so I love that you're here, and I love that you're available to help not only parents, but just people in general, right? With their businesses, with their personal lives. There's so many layers to energy and to frequencies. And it seems like you've tapped into so many of them. And just to be able to have you as a resource, to understand better what's happening in the ebbs and flows of our daily lives so that we can best utilize it instead of go against it, is just such a blessing. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking about that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting when you start to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. It's like there's some really core fundamentals that are in everything. And for me, it's been the 4 elements. That's been the thing that makes most sense to me. I'm like, it's resonant with the emotions, it's resonant with the planets, it's resonant with the seasons, it's resonant with the chakras that we manifest in the body. It's like across the board, that energy that it's coded with is in everything. And when you start looking at it and going into this smaller funnel of understanding life, it's so much more simple than we try to make it.
Yes.
And that's been a huge philosophy and embedded into my methodology, whether I'm working with entrepreneurs or working with clients, doing healing sessions or on a retreat. It's always, how can this be as simple as possible? Because it doesn't need to be that complicated. And it only feels that way if we're trying to intellectualize and really think about it in a way that is trying to understand in the physical world when we're really working in the energetic realm.
Absolutely. And not only that, but just in general, that's what we've been raised to do, right? Like society doesn't tell us there's a season for everything. Society tells us you're always turned on, you're always climbing the ladder, it's like Aries season constantly, right? Like that's like sun, moon, rising, Aries, that's it. And that's life, and you're working, and that's it. But that's intentional, right? I mean, that's, what was it? Carnegie was saying he doesn't want a nation of entrepreneurs. He wants a nation of workers, right? And so it's like, and then we've been built 100+ years on that philosophy. Yeah, exactly. And so of course we don't understand that we can go with the seasons. Of course we've repressed, indigenous cultures that understand the energetics of the time. And that isn't beneficial, to our capitalist society. So yeah, I think it's so intriguing. And I feel for the past, even 2019, I feel like before COVID even hit, I've felt this awakening of the earth in like one way or another in many ways. And I feel that everybody is going to understand how we're more intimately connected, just increasingly over time. And I feel like it's starting, and we're coming back to just kind of waking up, and understanding what's really here and how we really work, which is kind of a mind fuck, right? Because it's like, oh, I thought we worked this way, and actually there's so much more to us than we understand. But I could talk to you about this stuff forever. I'm trying to keep my episodes short. So I'm like, okay, next thing. But maybe after this episode airs, if any of our viewers or listeners have interest in diving deeper in a specific topic, maybe I can have you back on and we can kind of geek out on maybe more of a specific topic as well.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Wonderful.
I could talk all day about this, and I do. That's why I created all of my work around
right? I love it.
I'm going to spend my days trying to come at different angles of how to explain energetics in a way that can benefit the things that the people who come around me want. I'm like, you can solve it all with this.
Oh, I love that. Similarly, I'm very similar, right? Like I'm doing that on naturally healing your nervous system side, right? But energetics is absolutely a part of that. But so is, plant medicine. And well, I mean, it's all related, right? Like there's an energy to every herb. There's an energy, it's all interconnected in some way, shape, or form. So I love it. As we're wrapping up, Kelli, I would love for you to, number one, let us know if there's like an easy next step for parents that are new to the idea of energetics, where you could be like, this will help you understand it, or this will help you could implement this and it'll be easy for you to like help shift in your family life. And then I have one more question for you after that.
Okay. Yeah, I have a free elemental breathwork practice I can send you the link for if you want to drop it in here for everyone to be able to access. It's great for you to use as parents to teach your kids. I've taught my kids a lot of these different breath practices to help move energy, like I was talking about, in different parts of the body that might be resonating with a specific emotion. And they're all under 5 minutes. So that's also really great because time is, we need short time, especially when
limited. Yep. Great.
So that is something that I would say is 100% a great thing to implement if you're interested in using energetics and the breath and the elements. And then if you're interested in learning more about Healy and how you could use it for yourself, for your family, or to help yourself create another stream of income, because money is also energetics, and having nourishing streams of income and nourishing ways to have abundance in our lives by using things and talking about things that we love and that we use all the time, I think is a really healing thing for our culture, so that we don't feel like we are stuck on that hamster wheel. And Healy does offer that, a really beautiful and amazing affiliate program. And so that is something that I could also have a chat about if you're interested. It's completely transformed my life in the last 2 years and given me incredible freedom to rearrange my life to make it be the way I want it to be instead of how I always thought it had to be.
I love that. That's so wonderful. And that actually is a really good transition, because I have a feeling it might have to do with this, but the name of my podcast and my personal brand is the Responsible Parent Podcast. And it's a little bit tongue in cheek because a lot of the ways that I've parented have been directly against what's been taught to me as responsible in society, but I feel it's responsible. And so I'd love to know whether it's related to anything we talked about or not. Do you have an example of a time where you've done something that was irresponsible or seemingly irresponsible, but felt like it was absolutely the right thing to do?
Oh, heck yeah. I'm like the queen of this.
Like, that's my life. It's my
I've been
MO.
doing I've been doing this since I was a kid. I was like, this is responsible. You guys just don't understand it yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess a great example would be that me and my husband take our kids out to Colorado or Utah every single winter, and we go skiing and snowboarding. And we had my kids go down like double black diamonds when they're like
Oh my
7 and
gosh.
8 years old,
I
which I
love
think
it.
many people would say that is absolutely insane and not responsible. And I was like, let's see what happens.
Throw
Trust
them up.
yourself, be courageously, ambitious and
Yeah.
also careful. I
And
definitely have put my kids in situations like that where I push their limits a lot further than some people may in this day and age, or really afraid of their kids getting hurt or afraid of, things like that. And I have helped encourage my children to develop a really strong trust in their bodies and themselves.
mm,
They know their limits, but they can also push their limits so that when they get older, they're able to do things that are really life-giving instead of living in fear.
I
And I
love
think
that.
really help them. And then another thing that I never thought was irresponsible, but when my son was 1 and my daughter was 2.5, me and my husband took the kids to Mexico for a week. And everyone was like, "You're taking the kids out of the country?" Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're my
they
family.
need
They're
to
coming with
see what
me.
else
Yeah.
is going on. Like we need, and we've spent collectively over a month, maybe even 2 months in Costa Rica with our kids during the pandemic. We kept them home from school for almost 2 years, and we just kept going to Costa Rica and building a little house on the beach and doing school from there. So that was, I thought, very responsible
Yeah.
because it was really healthy for them versus being in school with masks on. So
And talk about regulating your nervous system, right? I mean, that was the scariest part, I feel like, of the pandemic. It wasn't necessarily the virus, it was all the people who weren't even coming close to being exposed that just were breaking down because their nervous systems were so overwhelmed.
and we
Right.
hopped on a plane and I went to the
Yeah.
Blue Zone. I was
I
like,
love
take
that.
me to where the healthiest place on
Yeah.
earth is, and we're gonna go be free
Oh,
and be in the sun and the earth and the rich food. And I think that was one of the most responsible things I ever did because my kids are absolutely thriving and they don't have like a lot of the problems that some kids are having now from all of the trauma that
yes.
was inflicted on them. So yeah, maybe
That's
my most
lovely.
responsible moment.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to have to talk to you offline about Costa Rica. Oh
Love
my
Costa Rica.
goodness. Oh, great to know. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate your time. And again, we could talk forever, but I am just so grateful that we talked about all the different ways that we can incorporate energetics into our lives and into our family's life and to help heal our nervous systems. And definitely we'll connect, and I'll put all of your information below our podcast in the show notes so that people can connect with you. And I am so grateful that we are connected.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for listening, everyone.